welcome to another edition of the Blue and Gold Gridiron Show, where this week we're really excited to have the head football coach at Smithtown High School, Mr. Greg Lauri, on the show. Coach has got a variety of experience at multiple stops and is also involved in the state association where he is at in New York there. So lots of great experience. Looking forward to him. I believe just took over at Smithtown last year. Is that correct, Coach?
That is correct. This past season was my first year there as the head coach.
All right, so we'll be excited to talk about a number of different topics with Coach. Before we get into that, though, I want to take just a moment to remind everybody the Blue and Gold Gridiron Show is brought to you by School Funder. School Funder, the only online fundraising company in America that lets you keep all of the money your team raises. We just set up our summer lift-a-thon with School Funder, and people ask me all the time, how is that possible? All they have is a little tip there that you can tip the people at School Funder, but all that money goes to your athletes. People all over the country, coaches specifically, always give away 20 to even 25% of their proceeds in fundraising when they don't have to. Call the good people at School Funder at schoolfundr.org and let them know the Blue and Gold Gridiron Show sent you, as it will help the show. While you're helping the show, please take a second right now, push subscribe. You're not going to get any spam from me, any email. All it does is give you notifications there when we come out with a new episode, and it helps grow the show. And we've talked about this many times with many episodes. The number one goal of this show is just to help reach as many coaches as possible and try to help learn the great game of football. Obviously, we've talked a little bit about the teacher shortage across the country. There's also a bit of a young coaching shortage, I would say, across the country. I hear more and more from coaches that say how difficult it is to fill out their staff. So we're trying to help coaches everywhere, and we can do that by reaching more of them. So, like I said, hit subscribe right now, as that helps us reach more coaches on YouTube and all that stuff. All right, so gonna get into it today, Coach. Excited to talk to you. Really appreciate it. I always reach out. I try to get a cross-section of coaches from different parts of the country. Had a lot of people from the South. Of course, a lot of great coaches from Arizona where I've coached. A number of coaches from back east a little bit. I love hearing everybody's kind of football story. So if you wouldn't mind, take a moment and tell us a little bit about your football story, please.
Well, it's an interesting one. Started off at Hofstra University back in 1990 as a undergraduate student assistant, where they helped me earn my bachelor's degree. Then I moved from there on the staff to a grad assistant and then a restricted earnings. Joe Gardy was the head football coach at the time. We had a lot of talent there between players and coaches. Still have some really good friends from back then. Guys like Kyle Flood, who's the offense coordinator at Texas right now, was on staff with us. Dan Quinn, head guy. Raheem Morris was a former player of ours that went on. So there's a ton of guys with a lot of experience. Learned a lot from them. My influences back then were Rob Spence, Manny Mitsakis, Dave Brock. They were a lot of the offensive guys that were there. I learned everything from run and shoot to the spread system back then. So I think my background covers a lot of different things and kind of has led me to where I am today. After leaving Hofstra, I went back to coach at the high school level. Fred Vasaro was a big influence in mine. He was the head football coach at the time at Sachem North. Gave me an opportunity when I left college to come back to coach in high school. Then I followed him over to John Glenn. Dave Shanahan and Fred Vasaro were there. We won back-to-back Long Island championships for us. Since Long Island doesn't participate, we're trying to fix it in the state championship. The LIC is really our state championship. So we won back-to-back championships there. Left John Glenn after that to join Joe Ossifet over at Nassau Community College. We had a wonderful experience for 4 years of coaching junior college football and actually getting to travel out to Arizona and play in Arizona Western and some other schools like that. Took a bus trip down to Trinity in Texas We were like the 5 seed at the time. They were three. Went down on a bus for 2 days. Got off the bus, played a game. Actually, we beat them 50. The final score was 66-56. Not a lot of defense being played that night, and they got back on the bus and drove home. So all the guys that I was with at Nassau, Joe Ossifit, Jason Depew, Mike Rubino, all great guys, good influence on me. Then we went to ASA college. Then I realized that, driving on a bus on a Sunday afternoon while my wife is showing me film of our youngest son, our son playing youth football, and she's asking me, is this good? Is that good? And I'm like, what am I doing? So then I left and went back to high school, back to Sachem North with Dave Falco and some other people. And then the opportunity arose for me to be the head guy finally at Smithtown East, and I jumped on that. And I think what we're doing is it's a lot different than other people. People have asked me, like, what is your offense? And I think the only way to describe it is I say we're air triple. So we are triple option based football, but we run inside zone, power, counter, wide zone, and our pass concepts are pretty much air raid based. And then we don't really pitch the ball in our triple. We throw it to the perimeter, which we started doing when I was at Nassau Community College in John Glenn. So it's a little bit different, but it encompasses a lot of things. We play with tempo. We give, I think the predication of the offense and what we've tried to build in the system is to take advantage of the athletes that we have on Long Island. We have lacrosse is a big sport out here. So to get your lacrosse players to play, sometimes you're not always the biggest up front, but the more athletes we feel we can put on the field, the better we can compete with other people.
Coach, you certainly have a wide variety of experience with some big names. Always, that's one of my favorite parts of the show, listening to people talk about their story and how the game has affected them back in the high school ranks, which I've coached all 26 years of my journey has been in high school and entering year 27, and wouldn't trade it for anything. High school football to me is Friday nights are very special. Particularly, Prescott's kind of a small town, so kind of cool with that as well. So I am going to turn it over to you, Coach, and you are going to coach us up on whatever concept you are willing to share, and I will ask questions. I will tell you, you were talking about your experience there, and I usually can follow most guys when they're talking ball. The few times, air raid stuff I love because there's kind of repetition and all those type of things on the concepts. The only time that I've had guys on here where I was like, I'm not sure what's going on is the run and shoot stuff. So you said earlier in your career you had a little bit of that going on, and that is always, I'll be honest, that one's over my head sometimes. So when they got a drawing and there's 16 different things the receiver can do, I'm like, I don't know. Y'all obviously have great success with it because you can teach it, but I couldn't. But anyhow, going to turn it over to you, and you can coach us up on whatever you're willing.
I can do this.
And just go share screen, and usually whatever you have on your computer will pop up for us. Oh, it's coming up.
Get this.
Yep, brother. Yep. Air triple operating system. We see it perfectly, Coach.
All right, good. Yep. So what I was going to talk to you today about is our center guard tackle, or our center guard. We call it the B. It's usually the H, or a wing, tight end, fullback type guy. Our counter play with some of our perimeter manipulations that we utilize.
All right, love it.
So probably have to. Let's see. I'll skip some of this. So everybody runs counter. We base it off we're an inside zone scheme team. We feel that it's important that the more we can say the same as to our players, the learning is easier and faster. So the front side of our counter, we tell our kids it's the same as the back side of our inside zone. Um, so I was going to skip some of this. Our operating system, what we try to do is we try to get all our players to see the field from the same lens. We talk to our guys, and we're not just talking about our receivers, quarterbacks, running back. We talk to the offensive line about being able to look at the roof line, where the safeties are, the support of the roof, the alley defenders, the foundation, the box players, and how we see the field. We use a little bit. I use a little bit of the Dub Maddox, who's I think I've never had a chance to meet him, but he was able to put my thoughts on paper. So I've kind of stolen his stuff and utilized it a little bit as we go here. So our 5 base runs that we have is our inside zone, which is our bread and butter. We run wide zone to attack the edge of the box. We have an outside zone where we attack the perimeter, and then our counter play where we either pull the center or the guard and the tackle, and then the center of the guard or our H-back. And then we run power, which is either traditional or quarterback, and we can either wrap that power or kick it based upon what the other defense is showing us that day. So going back to what we talk about in our foundation structure, we try to make it as simple as possible for our guys. We don't really go with 4-2, 4-3. It's either even split or even stack. So everybody's communicating on the same page. Our quarterbacks, our linemen, our running backs are all understanding this. Even split meaning that the linebackers are split. Stack meaning that there's somebody stacked over our center. We could even use it in our odd stuff, whether it's odd split, nobody covering the center, no linebacker covering the center, or an odd stack where a 3-3. So that's basically how we identify our boxes. And I'm sure there's other stuff that we see during the season that we have to tweak things for, but pretty much all falls into those categories when we're looking at what we're facing during the week. And what we've come to realize is, someone could be a 4-2 box traditionally. We play them and they've got something else in store for us. So I think our base rules that we look at really help us identify what the box structure is, or the foundation structure, and how we do that. Like I said, I had a bunch of stuff on here, but I'm going to skip to some of the things I think are important. Like, I'm not going to get into the, how we break the field structure. I want to get into the run game stuff. So our inside zone rules. All right, we try to keep it as simple as possible. Again, we're trying to play with tempo. Our goal is to try to snap the ball every 15 seconds. So as an offensive lineman in our system, we're running inside zone. You're going to say to yourself, the first question you're going to ask is, am I covered front side? If it's yes, don't go any further. We know that's our guy. Depending on the play, what's our landmark and how we're going to attack it. If it's no, you're going to ask yourself, am I covered backside? If it's yes, you're just going to need to know, who am I working with and where our linebacker is. And we try to break it down. We don't have time at the line of scrimmage to really make, the traditional offensive and defensive line calls that people do. So we came up with a pretty simple system where if I'm the uncovered guy, I'm going to turn to the guy I'm working with, and I'm just going to tell him, hey, we're plus, or we're 0, or we're minus. And the plus means that the linebacker that we're working to is front side of that down lineman. And it just gives our guys a chance to think, okay, I'm probably the guy that's coming off for that linebacker. If it's stack or a 0 call, all right, we can stay in our combo longer and really work our you-me call based upon what the linebacker, how he fits after that. And if it's minus, it's kind of an alert for the guy who's covered that or the front side guy, I might have to take over this block if the linebacker who's minus we're working to shows itself. And then we have other things that we'll build in, like I might be yelling, hey, we're plus alert, meaning the linebacker we're supposed to work to is in a blitz demeanor. So I'm going to tell the guy, hey, alert, 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 meaning I'm going to take my steps, but you might be by yourself. So we have some different things, but that is all we do and ask of our guys up front when it comes to blocking our inside zone. All right. So how we operate offensively, I thought this was interesting for you guys to hear, is every play that we call, if it's a run play, there are actually 3 options for the quarterback. So right here, I didn't draw up a defense. I just put, so we're running our inside zone to the right. So the call would go into the quarterback with the run game first, and then we go left to right, just like you would read a book. So here we get our inside zone right. We would give them the manipulation for the left side, the guys that are in green, and then we would give them the call for the front side, right, which right now is double hitches. So the quarterback has the ability, if they're not going to cover our hitches, he has to say nothing to anybody other than the running back, where he just tells him, hey, we're hot, hot, hot. And he can just clap, get the ball, and throw the double hitches to the front side if he wants to, if he loves it. That helps protect the alley to the front side with that linebacker. He can't cheat into the box. He's got to get out there and really cover the hitches. And we have other quick games that we'll tag in there. And then once he runs this, right, the defensive end that we're not blocking, the quarterback second read, the run game, the guy in red, the defensive end, he's his pull or give read. And depending on what that guy does, the quarterback's either going to give the ball to the running back, or if he wants to be nosy and play the run game, he can then pull it. And then what the quarterback does, he attacks the trigger, which is the alley defender on the backside, the T in green. And he has the ability, based upon what his reaction is, either keep the ball running in the alley or throw it out to the slot with a lead blocker out on the outside. So every time we call a run concept, there are three things that the quarterback has to look at. It's simple, in our opinion, that if the alley defenders, if they're not going to cover you, just take what they give, take the gift to the front side, then read the D end, and I'll get into how we read the defensive end and how we do all that stuff. And if I'm going too quick or you have any questions, just jump in.
No, love it, Coach.
Okay, so basically what we tell our quarterbacks, and we do this at our JV level, and I'm trying to get our middle school guys to incorporate some of this. So we just read the plus sign. So if you picture that if the defensive end was to go into number 1, right, which is inside, like he's going to bend to play the run game, it's an automatic pull for the quarterback. Number 2, right? I'm sorry. If he goes in, I apologize. If he goes to 1, he sits in 1, then it's an automatic give because we're saying that the ball is to the left here. Right? If he goes up the field, because sometimes we get guys that want to box us and try to keep the quarterback inside, 1 or 2 is an automatic give. 3 is the most difficult one. That's where they attack the mesh point. And then 4 is where that defensive end or that C-gap defender is bending down the line of scrimmage to play the running back. And then I got this here. So if defender sits in 1, give the ball. Defender comes up the field. Sometimes we'll pass set that kid. It's a give. All right, if he attacks the mesh point, then we talk to our guys just like in triple. We're going to sink it and read it. And I tell the quarterbacks it's as simple as this. If the guy who's attacking you, his numbers disappear, he's playing the running back, pull it and dip out the back door. And if the numbers stay and you can read his numbers, sink it and give the ball to the running back. Right? And then when the defender bends, number 4, right, if he bends or shuffles, we're still going to sink and read and still read the numbers. And if you can see his numbers, right, give the ball, right? And if the numbers disappear, you're going to take it.
Coach, you said, and I completely agree with you, when they run at the mesh point, that's the toughest deal. What do you tell your quarterback in that case?
That's when we work on it a lot, where we're going to stick the ball in and we shuffle forward, where we call it sink and read. So he's going to shuffle forward for 1 step, and then he's got to make a decision. Like I said, read the numbers of that defensive player. If you can see his numbers, he's playing you. Give the ball and attack his outside number hard and see if you can get him to turn towards you. If the numbers disappear, that means he's playing the running back. Pull it late and get out the back door. And that it does take some reps, and we do some things like in practice to really get that, but it's something we started. I mean, we started our Sunday or our spring OTAs, and it's day 1 install for us. We do a double ball drill. We do a lot of work with our quarterbacks on reading the mesh point, and it's very simple things that we ask our but the more repetitions they get, the easier it becomes for them. And I've always been a big believer in trusting that player. All right, you got to find the right kids that can do that, and you've got to put faith and trust in them. You've got to let them know that you do that. Yeah, are they going to make mistakes? And I've got clips where, okay, he's got, he went too far with that, or he should have given it. You know what I'm saying? But you got to live with that because to me and for me and my staff, the upside is so great that I'd rather trust the kid and put the faith in him as opposed to trying to call it from the box. You know what I'm saying? I've seen guys try to do that, like, hey, give this. Oh, he bent on the last play, run it again and pull it, and now he doesn't do that because they're coaching just as well. So really, it's a matter of it's got to become a chess match between your quarterback and the defensive ends, and let them figure it out. And like I said, they'll make mistakes because they think they can pull it when they should give it, and the guy is quicker than he is, and then they understand what they can and can't do, and then it makes the game easier. So early on, you might have to live with some off-schedule plays, but the more you do it, the more you practice it, I believe that it benefits the quarterback. So this is just our inside zone, right, to the high technique, right? And we call this guy here, the defense is the C-gap defender, whether it's an end or whoever it may be, right? He's going to be the read key. He's going to give or pull off of this guy, and then he's going to attack the alley. And then the guy in the green, whether linebacker, safety, whatever it is, right, he knows he's his trigger. If he comes to play him, then we're throwing the ball elsewhere. If he goes to cover the manipulation, then the quarterback is running in the alley. Same concept with our inside zone because this is what we run the most of. All right, quarterback read and the trigger at a low technique. And then I get into our counter game. And we started playing with this a couple of years ago where it used to be, well, we're going to run the counter to the 3 technique, but if they give us the low technique on that side, then we're going to check it to tackle wrap or something else. And it just got to the point where I was like, why are we allowing the defense to dictate to us what we want to do? And also for me as the play caller, it was, well, I want the manipulation to come out to this side, or I want it to come out to the left or the right, and now now I can't call it. So we started talking about what we call our A-gap rule for the center, and it kind of fits into our zone scheme. Like, so on this play here, our center, right guard, and tackle are blocking inside zone, the backside of inside zone, and then we're going to, pull and kick out. So now the center's saying to himself, okay, am I covered front side? His answer is yes, so I'm going to block the nose. He makes a call to the guard that, hey, you become the kick out. You're going to go, and you're going to be the kick out. Tackle is always the wrapper. Okay? And we still have the read and the trigger on the back side. But on the next slide, okay, I want to run it because something over here to the left, whether it's a matchup that we like or the way they're playing us coverage-wise, I want to run counter to the left. Well, I'm not going to stop it. And we played with back blocking the 3 technique. But then then it was like, okay, well, the tackle's really got to help out on that. You can't really, it's hard for a center to back block a 3 technique. So we just said, screw it. So now his rule, we're running inside zone. The center, left guard, tackle are running inside the backside inside zone to the right. Well, the center, are you covered front side? No, I'm not covered. I'm going to tell him, hey, you stay. I become the kick out. We get our combo block back here. We pull the tackle, and we still have our read key and our trigger key on the backside. And we found this to be extremely successful. There are some times when, they do things where they want to blitz the mic early or show mic or whatever. We just make an alert call and we live with it. There's 9 out of 10 times the flow of the pulling of the guys, and we have some other window dressings that we'll do. We think this guy is a hot player. We might do something with emotion or something to get his eyes away from thinking, okay, I got a blitz. We might threaten him with an outside run this way. So we do some different things to handle this if we think it's in trouble. And then we could also make an alert call where the tackle's going to block down and the guard's going to leave right now and get to the A gap so we can try to get the Mike linebacker. So we did this so that we could dictate what we wanted to do, where we wanted our manipulation to hit, and not have to worry about what the defense was doing. We wanted to dictate to the defense what we did. And then we also have our stuff where we'll go with our B or H back. And now for us, this is a simple, we make a lock. So we're going to call counter with a lock call, which tells the tackle you're locked. You're not in the pulling scheme. The B is. Now, it doesn't make a difference for B if he's a wing, he's a sniffer, he could be in the backfield, offset I formation. Once he knows it's a lock call, he knows he's automatically the wrapper. He doesn't know who the puller is going to be, but it doesn't make a difference to him. I just know I hear lock. I'm going for that linebacker opposite of the ID, and that's my guy. Here in this situation, right? Center's blocking the nose because he's covered front side. He tells the guard to go. He becomes kick out, and the bull or the H-back becomes the wrap. And the same thing going the other way. Now we get both guys are solid here, right? We don't really have a read, so we get in these situations, there'll be more of an RPO for the quarterback to look at. We can still run our manipulation. He just knows that he's got to feel what the flow is and what's happening. He can always pull it and attack the alley and make it work. But here the center's pulling, and the bull is always the wrapper. Some of the stuff that we do on the outside, again, doesn't make a difference to me. We haven't changed signals, and we don't care. You got a razor call where the A is just simply walking away. We used to do the bubble, but we started doing this when I was at Nassau with Joe Osfet. We just walk away, show the quarterback your numbers. You're going to go and block most dangerous based upon what the defense is showing you, right? So you got your read key. The trigger would be in here, and if he pulls it, he's going to have an ability to throw the ball out, and we hopefully get a 2-on-1 fast break out on the corner. We can run our bridge concept where he's up and retrace, and we don't worry about linemen downfield here because the ball is being thrown behind the line of scrimmage. We do get into some stuff where we will have our manipulation where we're looking to throw the ball downfield, and the quarterback just simply has to understand, So this is what we would call our sail concept, right? To one side, we're either going to, based on game plan, we can either razor it or bridge it out here, and then we're going to attack the safety on the opposite side with a go route here. And I have clips of this, which is absolutely beautiful when it does occur. And when the defense figures it out and they start covering people, it just opens up running lanes for the quarterback. And then this one here we love. We call it devil. We got a razor. You've got a slant and a wheel concept and a sting concept vertical on the backside. So now depending on where the ball comes out, the quarterback always has an option to where he wants to throw it or if he pulls the ball. So, and then I'm trying to figure out how I can love to show you some film. Do I just...
If you have it on your computer, like if you have on Huddle, usually you can go share screen and then you could go out of this and go share screen to Huddle or whatever film.
I see it. Share something else.
Yeah, if you go share Huddle now, like just on your computer, pop into Huddle. Yep, I see Huddle coming up right now. Exactly, perfect.
All right. I mean, they say you can't teach an old dog new tricks.
Wow, you're learning like crazy, Coach. Coach, let me ask you before you get into this part. Ton going on. When do you start kind of? Obviously, you talked about it a little bit. Your lower levels. How much would you give your lower levels on your plate in terms of the operating system? And when do you start kind of training your quarterbacks up on this in terms of off-season stuff? Are you meeting with them at all? Because you explained it very well, but there is a lot going on there for a high school kid. Do you guys have meetings and different things? How you start establishing that with your kids?
Well, like I said, we do our Sunday OTAs. We started that in March, early March. We're in our spring season. I coach JV lacrosse. So one of our players who will be competing for the starting job is a starting face-off kid. He's a face-off. We call him an ace because he can play offense, defense, and win face-offs. So he's right now playing lacrosse. So on Sundays he comes and he knows that he's in the middle of lacrosse season. All we're asking him to do is take some light jog reps, seeing the reads and the concepts, throwing the ball for about an hour, and then he's done. The other guy that's competing for us is the starting second baseman for the JV baseball team. So he comes on Sundays, and we ask the same thing of him. I have two middle schoolers that are coming up on Sundays, and they get some reps as well. As far as the middle school goes, we're in an interesting situation. We have two middle schools. One is strictly based, all the players at the one middle school will come to us. The other middle school is split. So there's two high schools in Smithtown, East and West. So the one middle school is split between the two. So we try to get our guys that we try to find out who our guys are from there, and we get them to our Sunday OTAs. The one middle school, who is our direct feeder, he's the head guy, has been very, what do I say, accommodating or, into trying to do. So he was a wing T based team. So we've made some adjustments we made some adjustments for this past season, looking to make some more going forward. The other school, we got them to go to shotgun as opposed to under center. So it's an interesting situation where we're trying to get our middle school guys and our coaches to buy into what we're trying to do, so we get our kids developed quicker. But it's a process right now, I can be honest. But they're both good guys, and they're some, the older guy is set in his ways, and the younger guy is willing to make adjustments. So just something we have to deal with. So, and then I will have some meetings with our quarterbacks in the springtime, but again, it's about fitting it around their, all the guys that are going to play quarterback for us are either on the lacrosse field or the baseball field, and based on their schedules, sometimes they're practicing on Sundays and 6 days a week, things like that. So we'll have some meeting time as their season winds down, and try to prepare them for the summer. So this was us last year against East Islip, one of the team that won everything, or was in contention to win everything last year. And you can see right off the film that we're lined up, and they're still trying to figure out what to do.
Yeah,
so I think
you guys are already set, and they got guys running all over the joint.
Right, and I can be honest with you, they were a much better football team, but we were able to do some things against them that just simply because of the tempo that we played at and the things we ask our guys to do. So right now we're running counter to the +3 side, and here we're going to have our sail concept. So the solo receiver to the outside has got a mandatory vertical. Number 3 here is going to attack the toes of the safety to get across the field. All right, we're going to have a bridge or a razor concept out here. And as I let it play, yep, getting what you said.
You might
Loading
have to
issue.
kind of scroll it forward. I know exactly what you're talking about, though. You drew it up for us a second ago.
Yep. So you can see right here. All right, good job by the quarterback. Defensive end wants to follow the puller and try to get in here to tackle the running back. Here's number 3 from the opposite side coming across. All right, the single receiver outside is getting vertical, and it just opens up the grass for the quarterback, and he's able to run and take a nice run down the sideline.
At what point is that kind of weak flood an option for him, Coach?
Well, I'll go back real quick. See how he runs at the safety, he does his job here, so he is occupying this safety. If the safety was to come screaming down to play run, if they're in cover 4 and he's the backside fit, he'd be wide open and be just dumping over his head, and then he'd have the grass to run in.
Yeah, that's really cool stuff there, Coach. I've seen a lot of stuff, but not necessarily combining that in the middle of the play there. That's some innovative stuff you guys got there.
Thank you. And like you said, we take the good with the bad. So here now he's feeling his oats, quarterback, and he's going to read this defensive end down here.
That defensive end's a big dude.
Yes. And right now, we talked the day after. I'm like, where is his numbers? He goes, I could see his numbers. I said, so you should give the ball, because he's not playing the running back right now. He's playing you. But he decides, I'm going to pull it, and he gets caught, and we take a loss. They didn't call us for intentional grounding right there, but those are some of the things where we talk about, like, you're going to live with the good and the bad by trusting this kid to make the reads that he's supposed to read. and sometimes you win them, and sometimes you don't.
Well, like I said, that defensive end was covering some ground too. That kid looked like an athlete.
Try to get this one to come up. But again, this one here, we're just going to run our counter play. And then we got our razor call out here. So if this defensive end up here bends or he feels it, he's going to throw it to number 3. And he's got 2 blockers in front of him.
Definitely a lot going on there.
Yep.
If you want, Coach, you can just kind of pull it forward and we'll see it. Sometimes the loading process is hit or miss when we're with guys from different parts of the country.
There it is. Counter. DN pulls it. Throw it out to the perimeter.
That's pretty football there too, Coach. A lot of times we've run similar stuff, but you don't see it get to the third option, and this is just ridiculous. This is what I'm talking about that's so innovative here. I've seen a lot of the other stuff. This is the stuff that you talked about it. That safety's down there, and you guys throw a touchdown on weak flood while you're running counter. That is really, really good stuff.
Yep. Simple. Get the ball out to the perimeter. Get a couple of blocks, and now we're out in space. And, those are some of the positive things. And I'll just let some of these run here. This is just 2x2. We're going to fake our jet sweep. I give the action a little eye candy. Got a lot of people running across the field and a couple of blocks, and then he's off to the races.
That was a pretty counter, Coach, and I love the eye candy with it too. Let me ask you, Coach, side question not related to the scheme, because anytime I'm with guys from other states, I'm always curious. We have one game definitely going on in the day, one definitely going on in the evening. Is that kind of week to week, or how does that work? Because we're always 7 o'clock on Friday nights, and when I see different parts of the state, or different parts of the country, I should say, that's not always the case.
Yeah, not everybody has lights. That's number one.
Okay.
We just got our lights put in last year, so we only got to play one home game at night, which was an exciting game. But this year, now going forward, now that we have lights, my athletic director and I are on the same page. We're we're playing as many Friday night games as possible so that we can get our team and our players on a schedule. But unfortunately, you will play at least 2 day games during the season, and you just have to readjust.
Saturday, Coach?
Yeah, you either play it Friday night or you're playing Saturday, and Saturday could be 12 o'clock kickoff, 1 o'clock kickoff, 2 o'clock kickoff, and some people will play Saturday nights.
Interesting.
Yeah. So now this is, and I'll go back here. Now this is just, it really is all it is we put our running back here in the slot. Here's our bull. So we're going to go counter to the left. We're going to make a lock call, and we're going to tag it so the quarterback knows he's running the ball. So we'll bring this guy in motion, and it's just eye candy for people. So,
good looking quarterback. Is he back, Coach, or was he a senior?
I wish. He's a senior. He's going to play at Hartwick College.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. You said a couple of the younger guys. You had a lacrosse guy, a JV baseball guy competing for the.
Yeah, this number 0 here in the slot. You'll see him in a second afterwards. He's a pretty good looking kid right here.
Good looking kid.
We had him in the slot last year, and he came to me this year and said, "Coach, I used to play quarterback. I'd like another shot at it my senior year." I'm like, "Well, let's go. Let's give it a shot."
He's a good-looking kid, so. And
now
this would be a fun offense to be a quarterback in.
Yep. So now we're going to give him the same. This is not bad. We give him the same thought process, but now instead of the running back cross in the quarterback's face, he's going to go behind Paul, and then we're going to snap the ball, and he's going to run the counter. So it's just a different way to get to. He'll go in motion, boom. Wish you would have tried to avoid that guy, but
Oh, he's got some scoot too.
yeah. And then, when we then during the game, when they go, okay, they're running that guy in motion and they're not really doing anything with him, then because they stop trying to adjust, see all the adjustments. Once that happens and they stop doing that and they start, okay, we'll play counter, then we just flip the ball to this guy on the jet sweep with the three lead blockers around the edge. So it's just, a matter of, playing chess and trying to do some different things. The next set, I think, is with part of our base offense. We go 4L. So we got two guys on, the wing back here. We'll bring this guy in motion to try to give eye candy across, and we just run our counter play inside.
I was going to say, Coach, I love the formation. Heck of a good run, too.
Yeah. Yeah, that guy's tearing it up right now on the lacrosse field, so happy for him. Yeah. And like I said, the good, the bad, and sometimes they get you, and,
Hey, it happens.
it happens, and then you go back and you watch the film, and it just was one simple miscommunication amongst somebody. Not the best of the best, Probably on this last one here, I put this on here because talk to the quarterback about could have been a pull. When you really watch it, he bends. Right? This guy trying to jump this, there's your alley to run. When you got to show him that.
I think that low snap kind of threw him off there a little bit.
Yep, no, it does.
Well, Coach, I got to tell you, like I said, I've seen a lot of stuff there. There is some really creative stuff there.
I don't know how much time we have left, but this one last one, if I could.
You got as much time as you want, Coach.
Okay. So this just goes to speak about, it's doable to teach a high school kid to do this. So now we're running our counter play. We got the manipulation to his right, and we just got vertical, all right, and an out here. That's his front side read. He checks it, tells this running back to come here because he's seeing blitz, and then he throws the ball, and we get a completion. But we don't tell him. We do everything else. He's exactly the same, and he's just a quality kid, able to get rid of the ball for a completion and make a big play, and beat them in the blitz.
That's good stuff right there. Is it kind of a week-to-week thing, the manipulations you're going to put on the outside, Coach? Does that depend? Is that a game plan type thing?
The game plan will be which ones we want to use based upon their, what they're doing defensively.
Good cut.
Yeah. Another guy, he was a lacrosse player that now is going to college to play football. This next one I put on because, like I said, we live with certain things. Well, he decides, we got a triple stack here. We probably have our devil call on this side with the counter coming here. He's got one-on-one with our best wide receiver. He's got a vertical. He's going to tell him, hey, just go block. He sees the safety down and he takes a shot. Some guys might say, oh, why are you doing that? I'll live with this. Because on the next play, when we come back to it, he runs that vertical. You get two guys, and we pop the ball to the outside. Well, we've got a little bit of green grass. We get a little bit of yardage that if those safeties and corners were playing true and not worried about the run game or the passing game.
Yeah, they got a lot to worry about. That if that occupies two guys for your counter, that's good stuff. As a line coach, I enjoy when two guys are occupied that we don't have to worry about.
Right. And here this was early in this game, which was a homecoming game, and they were trying to cheat. They were trying to play 2 over 3 with this guy towards the box, this linebacker here towards the box, and eventually, as the game goes on, now we got him thinking about the jet sweep.
Coach, I'm impressed with your centers being able to pull. That's not always the easiest thing for high school centers. For college centers, sometimes that can be pretty difficult.
No, but like again, like I said, you know, like we're probably fit. We did our first 3 Sunday OTAs, and I've got the 8th grade centers that are coming up to be freshmen next year. We're already drilling it with them. And we're gonna live with the low snap, and we're gonna coach the crap out of him. Coach Booth is the big guy right here on the screen. He does a phenomenal job with our offensive line. I got a great staff, and between every coach Zafiro does our running backs. They're all just Amari does our defense. They put the time in, and I can't ask anything more of them. And I think all the years of coaching that when you have good staffs and guys that are willing to put it out there and put the extra time in for the kids, and they're all doing the right thing. Does it look great on week 1 of Sunday OTAs? No, the ball's rolling back to the quarterback at times, but the beauty of it is the kid who's the starting center here, who's only a sophomore, will be a junior next year. He's taking the 8th grade centers off to the side and saying, "Try this. I learned this last year." So the kids are great. They do what they have to do, and we did on our JV last year, and they've never done it before, So it's just a matter of believing in the system and not wavering from what we believe in, and really getting guys, that coaches and the players, to buy into what we're doing. And thank God for this senior class at Smithtown last year, because they bought in day one, and they were able to deliver first winning season in, I don't know, 7 or 8 years, in the first playoff appearance in over 10 years. And it's, what we do is kind of fun, but they bought in, and they pushed themselves, and they pushed everybody on the team to be better. So kudos to my seniors who are leaving, that they were the ones that put themselves in a position to do what they did.
Well, they kind of laid the foundation for the years to come, no question.
Yep. And this is just Tony, the quarterback, being Tony. He sees, okay, I got one-on-one with my best receiver. I'm going to take a shot. This should have been a touchdown. Oops. Can't get much more open than that. Now he sees it. Boom. Now we're talking to him about they're trying to play an extra guy to the box, and then all right, so this is a bad one, but coaching point here for him is they're cheating this guy here, and they're cheating this guy here. So you got 2 coming off the edge. No matter what you do, you're going to just pull it and throw the ball to this guy running the razor, and then we come back to it. Oh, where is it? There it is. Again, he makes a mistake. We live with it, and then we coach him up. And he end up, I don't know where the clip is, but we end up throwing it out there. But yeah, I mean, that to me is one of the things that we don't have to worry about what the defense is trying to do to us. We get to dictate to them what we want to do. And you can see our guys, we ran the ball, we're getting on the line of scrimmage, and, we're trying to get some stuff done. Move quickly, at a tempo, at a pace,
You guys run hard, too. You guys play
Yeah.
hard.
Like I said, a great group of kids. We do a good. Coach Z does a great job of rotating our backs so that they, we had a stable of 3 last year that, 5 was the first guy in, but 20, that's Hunter, and then Ryan Farrell jumped in, and then Dylan Zizza, who was only a sophomore, he got some reps, and we'll get him in and out as quick as we can. Does a good job here reading the front side, throwing the ball, pulling it, and throwing it for a touchdown, and as opposed to saying, okay, they got too many guys in the box, and we're just gonna take advantage of what they give us and make them defend the whole field. So.
Well, really interesting stuff with the operating system and the way you guys put it together, Coach. Obviously, a lot of detail goes into it because there's a lot going on, and you guys got executed at a high level, and particularly anytime you're taking over a program that hasn't had great success and being able to get that quick turnaround is quite impressive and speaks to you and your staff and definitely your kids.
Thank you. Yeah, and like I said, I'm always willing to talk. 'Cause I always look at it when I was a young coach coming through. People shared everything with me. I won't share it to the guys I have to play, but I share it to anybody else. And if you really look at what we're doing, we have 5 run concepts. We have about 8 quick game concepts that we usually go into a game with 4, and then we have about 5 drop back concepts that we usually go into a game with 3 to 4 of. But each one of those concepts has multiple tags that we can utilize. So, I'd be willing to talk about stuff like that as well, just because I think it's important that you don't have to have a playbook that's, 2 inches thick. When I first started back in in the 80s, the playbooks were 4 inches thick, and every play was a different call. And now we just have a base system where it's that, and we can tag a receiver to change their route. We can do a lot of different things, so we can game plan. So we can rep. What I'm trying to say is we rep the same things over and over and over in practice, and then in a game we can tag or add a tag, and our kids know what the tag is, and then the route changes. Like our 4 vertical concept, which is kind of a little bit of a combination of some of the stuff I learned through run and shoot and some air raid, where we have guys, we can lock it, where we're going to do 4 verts, we can open it up, we can give choice routes, so our outside receivers can read whatever whatever that cornerback is doing. He wants to play zone, we're going to drop out. He tries to play man, we can take it over the top. He has options in everybody. All 4 of the receivers have their own rules based upon what the defense is doing. And then, like I said, we can either lock and say, no, we just want to go vertical, throw the ball, or we can open it up and give our kids choices. We can open up one side of the field, we can open up the boundary only. So we do some different things that really looks complicated, but in the long run, it's just, I'm the slot receiver. I got a hash rule. Guy on the hash, I do this. Guy off the hash, I do that. Am I locked or am I open? So, we do some different things that I think would be beneficial for other people to hear and see. And, sharing and giving back to the sport is what it's all about.
Absolutely, Coach. Well, we'll definitely have to have you back on to talk some quick game stuff. What's an example of a tag you guys use in your quick game, just out of curiosity?
Well, one of the most successful ones is we run. Everybody runs the play. We call it. It's like the All-American route. You got an under, you've got a dig, a post, and a vertical. So that's our base. And then we just go call that play, and we add a flip tag to it. And now the guy who's running the dig runs the post, and the outside guy runs the dig. Kind of becomes like a dagger concept. So we don't have to add another whole play. We just add flip, and then you got a dagger concept that you could work if you want, depending on what the defense is doing. So that's one of the things that we do a lot of, whether it's 2x2 or 3x1. And then when 3x1, we can tag who runs the under route, and who's running the dig, who's running the vertical. And then we could also flip that as well. So we get a lot of different things out of that. We run a lot of mesh. And so that's, our 4 vertical game, like I said, is an interesting concept as well. We could tag any receiver in our 4 verts. That guy is always going to run, if you're tagged, you run the dig route. And then there are adjustments that the other receivers make So sometimes it looks like four verticals. Sometimes it looks like a dig with a corner and a post. But the kids, they're not, you know what I'm saying? They only know it as what we call it. And then because of the tags, they know on the adjacent receiver, I can run to his open grass over the top.
It
So,
definitely makes sense, Coach. Let me ask you, at what point, because I've heard guys talk about this, if it doesn't change the read for the quarterback, they kind of consider it the same play. At what point do you think it's a different play in terms of how you're communicating with your quarterback?
well, like in our four vertical concept, we're going to tell the quarterback, we're running four verts. Find the side you like to work best and work that side and read it inside out.
Okay.
So even if we're tagged, if he loves that side, he'll read it inside out. So if I got the outside receivers running the dig and the slot receivers running the corner, I'm going to look at the corner out first and then work my way down to the dig. So it's still the same read concept as far as we're concerned, and we try to teach it that way, but it's a completely different route. It could be two verticals, and then he's going to read, okay, there's a safety on the hash. All right, and he stays on the hash. He's going to probably curl it inside the linebacker. If I love that, I'm going to throw that. If I don't, my eyes go outside. I know I'm either letting it rip on my hitch or I'm going to try to fire it back to the fallout because the guy played zone. And there's other things that we talk about, try to read and see things, the field, all the same way for those guys. But yeah, so, and like air raid stuff, we read it high to low in a lot of our concepts, and it's a 1, 2, 3 concept. And then we try to marry that for all the different quick games things that he's looking at.
Are you guys primarily a progression team? Are you reading defenders? A little bit of both? How do you guys work that?
We're more of a progression team. We really will, like when I go back to that, like we try to break it. I gotta be honest, at the high school level, we found that it looks like too high and they should be playing four, but half the guys are doing one thing. So we try to get to the point where we're looking at, if it's one high, what family does it fall into? All right, so the one high safety, he knows, we talked that I'll go back to, like, we could talk more, like, what is the slope of the roof? Is it a steep slope or is it a gentle slope? Gentle tells us probably cover 3. Steep tells us maybe it's 1. Then we look to the support players. Are the support players in the alley towards the box, or are they towards the receiver? More towards the box, we're thinking zone. Towards our receiver, we're thinking maybe it's cover 1. You know what I'm saying? And so and we're just trying to break it down into some simple thought process for them. And then again, like kind of like Dub Maddox talks about, like, where are the routes going and are they covering the grass in those tubes? So if he knows he's got the slot going to the number 1 and the corner's low, well, whether it's man or zone, if we win, he should be open there because that other guy is not covering the grass up top.
Yes, Coach, I am completely with you there. I always think that's interesting, kind of how people go about teaching to their quarterbacks. I would even argue at some point, some guys get a little too in-depth with teaching the kid the coverage. I'm not sure at the high school level how much more you need to know than middle of the field open, middle of the field closed. But maybe I'm wrong on that. So interesting stuff, though.
Yeah, I've even spoken to some college guys that play a similar fashion of, style of offense, and they're also thinking about, like, is it really necessary to go that in depth? Is it one high, two high? Is it middle field open, middle field closed? What's the del of the corner? They're trying to, and I've talked to some guys where they're like, can we steal your stuff? And I'm like, sure, take it. I don't care. It's like, if you're gonna help you, it doesn't make a difference to me. We try to teach the quarterbacks what the coverages are, but we really try to teach them where their weaknesses are and how to see it so they can get the ball in and out of their hand quickly. Right? We talk about a lot of different things. We'll talk to our center about reading the roof, in that, if it's too high, certain situations, well, the blitz can't come from here because there's no support player. Otherwise, the blitz got to come from so as the center progresses and he gets better and starts to understand things, we'll start talking to him. Just look at the safeties. And if it's a passing down, you're up there over the ball, well, shoot. See, there's nobody to the boundary. There's no support player over. You know what I'm saying? Like, start to understand where they can be blitzed from and make calls. And we try to teach the quarterback the same thing, because we get into game situation as they get better. We just make a base call and he sets the protection. So I'm trying to. I know I got to prepare them for those guys that want to play at the next level, and that's one of the things that has been, I guess, pat on the back for myself and my coaches that these college guys will say, "How does he know how to set protections?" I said, "Because we've been asking him to do it."
That is impressive, Coach. How many protections do you guys carry typically? I know you said 5 run schemes. How many use a half man, half slide team, or how many protections you go into?
We have, let's see, our base protection and our quick protection are basically the same, and it's your O line's responsible for the 4 down and the mic, and then we'll do a half slide and a full. And we don't do full slide. I don't like to do full slide, but we'll do a 4-man slide. So it's either a 3 or a 4-man slide.
I got you. Well, you do that full slide. A lot of times you got to put a running back on a defensive end, which isn't always a great matchup there.
And I've had guys suggest that. My O-line coach suggested that when I first got that. I'm like, listen, if our running back could block the DN, he'd be playing right tackle for us. So.
Well, and it makes it so you can't really be in pistol because you can't full slide and ask the guy in pistol to go get the end.
No, and we do some different things with the back, and we do we have some fun stuff for the kids. We make a cyclone call where we go even and we spin them to the opposite side on the snap and bring them back so defense can't get a read on stuff.
Coach, how much are you guys doing? Obviously, a fair amount of 11 and 10 personnel. Do you guys have, a different type of packages for the goal line, or what are your thoughts there?
It really comes down to who we have on the team.
Yeah.
I would love to have a tight end that could line up in line and do some different things. We might have 1 or 2 of them this year. We had 2 guys last year. One guy, Charlie, was our starting middle linebacker, and he got dinged up. So we just let him play defense. And then the other kid, we unfortunately lost Matt in week 2 to a knee injury. So that kind of scrapped our tight end stuff, and we just went 10 personnel and dealt with it. If we get on a goal line, if we can, we have some double tight end. We have a T formation package that we use. So we have some different things. But the thought process for us is if we can get into tempo and get down and if we get down inside the 5-yard line, we're going to stay with what we got and not allow you to change your personnel.
Well, Coach, I got to tell you, do a lot of these. I have learned an absolute ton from you. I got to end up picking up my daughter from practice or I'll end up getting in trouble here. But definitely going to have you on again sometime because I learned a ton. Looking forward to seeing your continued success there at Smithtown East. And we appreciate your time very much. And we'll see everybody again next time for another edition of the Blue and Gold Gridiron Show.
Thank you.